Hi everybody, it's Heligods here with another tutorial on how to do inverted flying. Now, inverted flying by itself is not easy. It's like learning how to fly upright all over again. So one of the most important things that you should consider before you attempt inverted flying, and that is to make sure that you can fly all orientations up the right way. So in other words, you can do figure eights head first, you can do figure eights in reverse, alright, you can do figure eights sideways, like in a nose down funnel for example, or you can do figure eights in a standard funnel. In fact, even better if you can do figure eights while you're actually going through and performing pirouettes. Right, so it's good to be able to do all orientations, and the reasons for this is that quite simply, if you get yourself out of shape and you're upside down, you can basically pull out. Like, you know how to recover the helicopter. Basically you can recover from any position. So that's why being able to control the helicopter in all orientations is very important. Now, one of the things to be careful of when you're learning to do inverted flying, and that is most people will take the helicopter and they'll flip it on their back like this. Now that's quite dangerous because it's coming straight towards you, and if you panic, you could easily hurt yourself very badly. Alright, so the thing to do is, first of all, before you attempt that maneuver, make sure that you can do loops. Alright, and the reason for that is that when we're actually going to drop into our hover, we're going to take the helicopter up higher, and we're also going to do it to the right hand side. So if you happen to drop into an inverted hover and you panic, you're not going to kill yourself. Alright, so basically to the right of you or to the left of you, your choice, just hover the helicopter and then maneuver into a loop. At the top of the loop, just apply negative collective and just hold the hover for as long as you can. Alright, now I'm going to bring the helicopter down lower so you can see what I'm doing. Now the things to note with inverted hovering and flying is that the aileron function is exactly the same as if you're upright. Okay, so the aileron stick will behave exactly the same way. So if I move the aileron stick to the right, you can see the right hand side of the helicopter goes up. Right, let's do the same thing. If I move the stick to the right when I'm the right way up, the right hand side of the helicopter goes up as well. See that? So let's sit inverted. Right, and now let's look at the actual elevator stick. Now the thing to notice is that the elevator stick controls the head. In other words, whichever direction you move the elevator stick, the head will follow. If you push the elevator stick up, the head will go up. If you push the elevator stick down, the head will go down. Now it won't matter what orientation, up, down, right? What position? Right, the elevator stick follows the head. So you've got to get used to that, because that's reverse to flying upright. Because when you're flying upright, the elevator stick controls the tail. Right, you push up and the tail goes up. You push back and the tail goes down. Alright, so that's one point to remember. Now the other thing about inverted flying is that the point closest to you follows the rudder stick. So in this instance, the head is closest to us, so if I move the rudder stick to the left, the head will move to the left. If I move the rudder stick to the right, the head will move to the right. Okay, now that's because the head is the closest point to us. If I spin it around, and now the tail is the closest point to us, if I move the tail to the left, the tail will move to the left, and if I move the tail stick to the right, the tail will move to the right. Okay, so it's always the point which is closest to you. So let's fly backwards, for example, and just to demonstrate this point. At the moment, their head's the closest point to us, so if I want to go around and do a figure 8, like I'm basically steering with the head, you know, using my rudder, and now the closest point to me is the tail, right? So I'm using the rudder, now the closest point's the head, so I push it across to bring it around. Now the closest point to me is the tail, so I want to actually, to complete the figure 8, I want to push it to the right. Right, so this is just exaggerated so you can see the stick movements. Now that may help you or it may not. You know, if you're an intuitive flyer when you don't care about stick movements, that's fine. But if you're learning and you need to know what the stick movements are and what the differences are, well, that's what I've just pointed out there. Now back to inverted flying. Sit about, I don't know, 10 meters to the right of yourself and power forward and go up and drop into an inverted hover. Now remembering those things that I taught you, you should be able to hold the hover for as long as possible. Alright, now practice that for quite a few packs. Okay, or practice that for like hundreds of times on the sim. Now once you've got that hover down pat, move over to the right of field and do the same thing. Start hovering to the right hand side of yourself. So that gets your brain used to seeing the helicopter in that position. Then move over to the left of field and do the same thing. Just hover there with the helicopter, you know, inverted with the head towards you is the easiest. Alright. Now once you've finished that, what you need to do is you need to start to actually look at the different hovering orientations. For example, sideways. Alright, so practice hovering in front of you, maybe slightly offset to the right. Alright, practice hovering, remembering the things that I told you about. The elevator now is controlling the head. Alright, and the pitch is the same. See, I can bring it back, just controlling the head. So giving yourself little memory joggers while you're on the sim. I don't recommend to do that while you're flying, because you can relax more on the sim. You can start to actually control the helicopter just by remembering those pointers that I highlighted before. Now once you've got sideways hovering in front of you, do the same thing. Right of field, okay, hover there, keep it still, and then do the same thing left of field, except move slower than what I am, of course, because that's actually inverted flying at the moment. Just getting your hovering orientations at the moment. Now, of course, then you've got to do it tail in, right? And then on the other side as well. So you've got to do all orientations and do them right of field, center, and left of field. Okay. Once you've done that, the next thing to learn is basically flying. So just pick a straight path, and when you get to the end, just spin the helicopter around and then start flying back. Okay, so pick a path. So you're just flying backwards and forwards at the moment. Don't worry about figure 8. Let's start flying back. Now practice that for a long time. Very important. Okay, then you want to also practice flying away from yourself and flying towards yourself, but not directly towards yourself. Like I said, you know, about 10 meters offset. Okay, now once you've achieved that, then you want to start flying figure 8s. And keep it high. On the sim I recommend keep it low because it's more challenging and it makes you think more. Alright. And just fly around and perform your figure 8s. Do hundreds of these. The more figure 8s you do, the better. I don't ever find figure 8s boring. I mean, You know, they can be quite challenging sometimes. You know, if it's a real windy day and people don't want to smack a heli around, or you know, they're a bit scared to fly or whatever, just do figure eights, because it hones your skills. It really does. And once you've got the head direction done, start thinking about doing funnels, inverted funnels. Alright, so drop it into inverted funnels. You don't have to enter into them the same way. Alright. And start to get sideways flying under control. Alright. And then you can do nose down funnels and you know, change orientations as well. So do funnels in both directions, because the helicopter flies differently in different directions. You know, like the helicopter will respond differently doing a clockwise turn as opposed to an anti-clockwise turn. Okay, I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you have any questions, please leave some comments. Heligods signing off.